Hey friends, it's Liz, the official craft nerd, and today we are going to create a shabby chic looking bird bath out of some Dollar Tree items. Okay guys, so you see I took two different size planters. Now both of these I picked up in 3 packs from Dollar Tree, and I am just going to glue down the smaller pot to the top larger pot and I'm using hot glue and the E6000 there just to make sure that it's nice and stable. I am going to now do one of my favorite things to do anymore, and that is adding some details to this project using clay and my molds. So I do add a little bit of cornstarch in there, and that's just to help release the clay. However, this DOS clay that I've been using is magnificent. I absolutely love this clay. It is so soft, it's very pliable, and once I get it into the mold itself, it cuts like butter basically when I'm removing all of the excess clay from the top of the mold. That is not something I was getting just using the regular air dry Crayola clay that I was using previously. But you know, you use what you have and you make do, and I love this particular type of clay. Now this one is in stone. I've been using this one because I still have a ton of it, so I don't need any other I don't need any more, but it does come in white and I do believe other colors if that is something that you want to look into. But I needed this right away, and this was all that Michael's had at the moment was the stone, and I'm actually okay with it. I think it does give my projects just that little bit of extra character when using this. So next step here is I'm going to figure out my placement for my pieces here, and I'm just going to use Mod Podge, and I'm going to place it right on to the top portion of my bird bath. And again, this is one of those projects that you can get as creative as you want with it. You know, use the type of molds that you enjoy using, anything at all really, to, you know, just create that little bit of extra texture. Mainly because, you know, if you ever see bird baths, you know, people have in their yards and their gardens, they're not just plain old, you know, pots or whatever. You know, they have design, they have texture, they have, you know, something to them, and that's really what we want to do here. So I am just adding, again, just a little bit of Mod Podge to underneath of my clay. And again, do this before this clay dries. This is air dry clay. You want to make sure it's still pliable when you're putting these details onto your projects, because once the clay dries, that's it. It's done for. So as you see here, I had to trim a little bit of that off just to make it fit. And then I'm just going to go to my next portion, my next detail that I want to add to my pot, which is basically is going to be the same rope texture that I did before, but I want to add it to the bottom portion of my bird bath as well. And again, we're just going to add just a little bit of the Mod Podge underneath and wrap this around. We'll trim any excess off that we don't need, and it is very, very simple. Now, while I'm doing this, I do want to take a second just to thank you guys so much for stopping by to my channel. If you're new here, welcome, welcome. I hope you stick around, join my nerdy family here, and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Of course, hit that notification bell, you know, to get notified when I upload something new. And for those that do continue to join me each week, thank you so much. I love you guys so much. If it wasn't for y'all, I wouldn't be doing this, so I appreciate you very, very much for sticking with me. Even when my schedule has been super crazy and I'm not able to get my videos out the same day every week, I try my hardest, you guys, I really do. But you know, life. But anyway, thank you to everyone that is here with me. I do really appreciate it. So now I do want to add another decal to this. I wanted to put something onto the side, just a little bit of a larger piece. So this is a different mold that I'm using. I have a collection of them, you guys, and honestly, I couldn't remember names to save my life right now, but I can always go back if I need to and put those down in the description. But I'll look on Amazon, I'll see what kind of molds that they have. Redesign has some really great molds. Those are the dark gray molds that I use most of the time. Anytime you see a pink mold, it's 90% of the time from Amazon, so it's some off-brand, you know, whatever. Those are okay. You know, for the most part, to get the job done, they're great. I'm not 100% sold that they work well with the clay, but that's not every single one. There's, you know, some that are better than others, but you just got to test them out. And that's what I do a lot of times. I'm always looking for a good bargain, a good deal, but I really want to make sure something is going to work right. So I kind of tend to stick with the nicer molds, which are the redesign molds. I believe that's what that lighter gray one is that I just used, but I'm not 100% sure. Either way, it created this beautiful little detail that I'm putting on the side here, and I love it. Now you can always go in and kind of clear off, you know, wipe down that little excess bit of glue if you get too much on there. Not a big deal, but I tend to do that just to make sure that it is typically pretty clean. Now the next step here is I'm taking some of this paint, and this pink color is phenomenal. I really do like it. I used it on my last video. If you haven't checked that out, I'll put a little tab up here in the corner so you can go back and look, where I refurbished some old tools, and I used this pink color, and I just really love it. It is a very thin chalk texture, very thin, but it's so smooth when it goes on. And as you see here, it goes on wonderfully with this smaller pot, and I believe it's because of the material. Now on the plastic, it is going to take a couple extra layers because of the material. Now there are ways to get around it. I understand you can always, you know, put some Mod Podge over the plastic first, you know, to kind of give yourself a base, or you know, you can just do like I do and just paint it over half a dozen times, whatever works for you guys. But me particularly, I really enjoyed this paint color, and it didn't bother me to do a couple of layers because it was very therapeutic painting it, if that makes any sense, you guys. I do hit it with the heat gun just to make sure it's dried up nice and well, and then I want to go in and make sure I'm getting all the little crevices on my little decal on the front. Now I'm going to take some of this Dixie Belle brown wax, and I am going to just take a little piece of material here and just rub it over the detail on the front of this. I want to make sure that we're getting all of the little edges, all the little, you know, embossed areas. Anything that's got texture, I want it to be seen. So that's why I'm using this wax. I prefer using wax on, you know, these types of details that we're putting on there with the clay, because it gets on there really well. But you can just use, you know, the good old-fashioned antique wax that we usually use from Waverly, even though that's more of a paint. This that I'm putting on there now, this is also by Dixie Belle. It's called Dirt. And basically it's exactly what it looks like. It's a powder. It's a very light grayish brown powder that when added to the wax, it does give it a gritty texture feel, kind of like it's dirt. And I really liked it. I had never used it before. It was the first time just trying to play around with some new products. And Dixie Belle has always had a very good following. So I figured I was going to be comfortable using them, and I was. I do like it. It does give it that just extra gritty feel. And for those of you that know me, you know that I love that. So it was a win-win for me, and it was just fun to do. It was fun to dirty up this project, making something that's so pink and pretty and feminine, and kind of roughing it up and giving it some age and some use here. And oh my gosh, I don't know, I just loved it so much. So I'm just finishing it up here, just adding some more of the wax and a little more of the dirt, and then we'll move on to the next step. So I do go ahead and add some of the wax to the sides and everything, just to kind of rough it up. Looking back, there is another step that I wish I would have done with this, just to give it just even more of that rustic, aged, shabby chic look that I really enjoy. Is I probably would have actually taken some of that Waverly antiquing wax that we normally use and just kind of gone up in the sides and the edges of all of the details that we added to this. It does give it a little bit more of a rustic, rusty type look. I know that there's only so many ways to describe it, but it probably would have really added to it, and I wish I would have done that. Unfortunately, I did not. So here's to the next project, y'all. But We're going to finish this off with just taking 2 of these. Actually, they're identical, but there's one a little bit larger, one a little bit smaller, of these 2 little lovebirds. Y'all, I picked these up at Goodwill, super cheap. I thought, you know what, these would be great just to flip them. All they need is a paint job. That's it. I'm just going to paint both of these just white and leave them as is. Now, you of course can add texture, or, you know, maybe some gilding, wax and gold, or whatever to them. I think that would look really nice as well. But I just wanted to keep with the white. So, you know, super easy, as you see here, just paint them over. No big deal. And that is all she's going to write about this project, y'all. Other than the fact that we're going to add some flowers in there. And, you know, you see me here kind of just shoving them in there just so you get an idea. You can put moss in there. If I would have thought that, I should have put some moss in there. But I was just kind of using what I could find in my craft room at the moment. And that was just some you know, reused flowers here and some, you know, greenery. But that's all there is. You know, you can add your little bird to the top of that. You can put it on the side. But this is how she turned out for me. I think she is an absolute easy peasy, cheap, affordable bird bath piece of decor that you can add for springtime. You can add for Easter, whatever it may be. I think she's gorgeous. Please tell me what y'all think down in the comments below. And thanks again for joining me, you guys. Until next time, take care, y'all. Stay safe. Love ya. Bye.